Hi, welcome back to For Riel. My name's Claire and my husband's name is Jeremy. We are two Australians living in Siem Reap, Cambodia, and we've been here for about 4.5 years in total. Most of that time has been in Siem Reap, but we have lived in other places around the country as well. So the topic of today's video is one that is a little bit negative. We do need to talk to you about these things because we've noticed that there are a large number of people talking about coming to Siem Reap and also posting questions and comments in Facebook groups that we're part of, expat groups, asking questions about things that they really should have explored a little bit more before leaving their home country. So I've put 10 of those things together in a list and we're going to talk about them today. So they are the 10 reasons that perhaps you should not move to Siem Reap or not retire in Siem Reap. It's in the end obviously up to you to do what you like. So take it with a grain of salt or completely leave it. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you. But these are the 10 reasons that I think you might want to reconsider living in Cambodia. And the first one is you're not good with heat. Now, a lot of people looking to come to Cambodia say, oh, but I live in a hot climate. I know what it's like. You know, I've lived in hot climate all my life. It's really not the same here. Because over here, you're not going to be driving around in an air-conditioned car, most probably. And you're not going to want to run the air conditioner in your accommodation because of the price of electricity here. It's very, very expensive. So you're going to have to deal with the heat. And it's very, very different when you're living in it constantly like this. When you want to go to a market and buy fruit and vegetables, it's not air conditioned. You have to walk around. People are sweaty. It's hard to get past people. Your frustration kind of ramps up much more quickly than it would if you were a bit more comfortable temperature-wise. So if you're not good with heat, it's probably something that you might want to rethink. Having said that, you do get used to it to a certain degree. But it is difficult. Like, don't let anyone tell you that it's nothing. It actually is. Like, the 2 months of April and May are just, wow. You know, until you've experienced April and May here in Cambodia, yeah, you don't really know what it's like. Like, at the moment, I've got sweat trickles happening. And you just have to learn to be at one with that and just be okay with it because everyone else is in the same position. Okay, so that's number one. Number two. You're too old to get insurance. Now, this is really unfortunate and I'm, the bearer of news that doesn't sit well with me, but it is hard to get insurance and the older you get, the harder it becomes. For example, we are with Safety Net and they have a policy that if you are 60 or over, they will not insure you. However, there is a small loophole with that. If you are below 60 when you first take out a policy with them and you continue the policy, they will take you as long as you keep that continuity going. So a lot of policies are the same here like that. If you're in before a certain age, then you're okay. But if you're already, let's say 65, 70, 75, and you're looking to come here, the chances of you getting insurance that is in any way affordable is really low, I'm sorry to say. So what you need to do if you are in that age group, you're going to need to use a broker. I'm not going to recommend any here because we haven't used any of them ourselves. But if you join one of the expat groups on Facebook, you can certainly ask a question in there or you can search and you'll find that whenever anyone talks about medical insurance, people in the comments section recommend different brokers quite regularly. So the third thing I want to talk about is having enough money to bail yourself out if something happens. Now, this could be something that happens to you, whether you're in a sticky situation and you decide that you need to get out of Cambodia for whatever reason, or it could be that you have a loved one back home and you need to get back home quickly to see them because something's happened over there. All of these things that normally happen through life. And if you don't have the funds behind you to make that urgent trip, then it's going to be very difficult for you. And you'll have to live with that if you don't have the funds. So that's another thing. It's your decision to work out what you're happy to accept and what you're not. But I would say at least have the money to buy an airfare sitting there in the bank. At least have, $5,000 just up your sleeve in case something happens that you need to mitigate. All right. Okay, number four. Number four is a very, very serious one. If you are very attached to white goods such as clothes dryers, dishwashers, and ovens, maybe Cambodia is not the place for you. those three things are very difficult to come by. I would say the least difficult of the three would be an oven, because you sometimes do see houses with a full oven. But clothes dryers and dishwashers, they are just not happening here. Unless you buy it yourself, you're not going to find one. Okay, so you have to get used to either doing your dishes by hand, eating out all the time, and actually I prefer to line dry my clothes and the sheets and the towels. You get that lovely smell of things being dried in the sun, and it's just beautiful and fresh. But some people have never done that in their lives, and it's completely alien to them. It's something that we are absolutely, comfortable with coming from Australia. It's actually quicker to dry things outside in the sun than it would be in the dryer, because the sun is so hot here. And it's also way cheaper, because if you're heating or cooling with electricity, it's going to cost you here. So get rid of your attachment to those things before you come over here, and you'll be fine. All right, number 5, you have a serious or complex health issue. Now, this one should be red flags everywhere. If you have things like a mobility issue, let's say certain kinds of physical disabilities, health issues that are managed by sort of complex cocktails of drugs in your home country, and those drugs might be a little bit more obscure than kind of your basic antibiotics and things, you probably need to look very carefully into what's available here and think very, very hard about whether a developing country like Cambodia is the right place for you. Having said that, a lot of things are available in pharmacies here. What I would suggest, if you want to check on that kind of thing, look up Pharmacie de la Guerre, and I'll leave a contact for that. Message them and ask them if they have the particular things that you need. And they'll be able to tell you whether they stock those or not. Sometimes the case is that they do stock the medications, or they can get them from a neighbouring country, but they're expensive. So you'll need to think about the availability alongside the cost with that sort of stuff. Also, if you see a particular kind of specialist regularly to manage whatever your health concern is, you might need to check to make sure that a person with that same qualification is available either in Siem Reap or in Phnom Penh. Failing that, across the border in Thailand. So health stuff, it's really serious, and it is difficult to cobble together all of the services that you need if you have these complex and challenging health issues. So give it some thought, and maybe just spend a little bit more time considering whether that's the best thing to do. Okay. And number 6 in this list is that you've never been to Southeast Asia or a developing country before. Now, you can watch all the videos you like, and it's great that you do. Watch videos from the biggest range of people that you can to get the best sense of what it's really like here. But none of that is anywhere near a replacement for being here and walking around, feet on the ground, seeing how it feels, seeing what it's like, seeing how you tolerate seeing poverty in front of you quite often. Yes, you might find some of the sights that you see here to be quite confronting. You might find some of the things that happen because of the poverty that's here to be not to your liking. So things like burning rubbish and stuff, that happens in some cases because of poverty. People don't have the money to pay for their rubbish to be collected, so they burn it. And you can have burning plastic very close proximity to where you live. So there's things like that, that the fact that this is a developing country creates these kind of situations, and some people are less comfortable with those things than others. The next one is that you are very set in your ways and not flexible. Now, if there's one thing that you have to be here, it's flexible, because things happen and you just need to kind of go with it. Sometimes you'll try to get something done and it just won't go the way that you imagine it would, or the way that it usually does in your home country, and you kind of just have to go with that. For example, you might put your bike in to be fixed, and this happened to me just recently, and suddenly the guy has to go home to his homelands, and so your bike sits there for 5 days and no work happens on it. And then it's not until you contact them to find out how it's going that they tell you that, oh, they haven't actually started because they've gone back to their homelands for a little while. So things like that, just the way things are done here, it's different. And if you're set in your ways and you're not flexible when these things happen, you'll get really uptight and you'll find that you're angry and you just lose that nice calmness that we love so much about living here in Cambodia. The 8th thing on the list is that not everything here is dirt cheap. Contrary to what you might think, it's not. So yes, accommodation can be had for $50 a month. And yes, we live in a lovely house for $300 a month. But you know, there are sacrifices that we make in living in this $300 a month house. And if you want a pool, if you want a really nice kitchen, if you want fancy bathrooms, all of that stuff, everything that you want increases the price of the place that you rent, basically. So the more needs that you have and the more of those needs that are met in a property, the more it's going to cost you, and the smaller the gap is going to be between the cost of things here in Cambodia and the cost of things that you're used to paying in your life back home. So just bear that in mind. The big thing here, of course, is electricity. Everyone talks about that. It is expensive. It's 25 cents per kilowatt hour. There are no access fees with electricity. Like in Australia, you have to pay your usage and then you have to pay access to the network and all of those sorts of things. Here, it's just the straight up usage. Anyway, so that is a long-winded way of saying not everything is as cheap as you expected it to be. I mentioned medications before. That's another thing that can be as expensive as at home in the West. Goes for imported things at the supermarket too. So Angkor Market is very cheap when it comes to things like washing powder, dishwashing liquid, noodles that are made in Thailand, stuff like that. Rice, it's very, very cheap. But when you come to the imported stuff, that stuff is quite expensive and more expensive than what you'd pay at home because of the taxes that you have to pay. Don't want to get into that though. All right. Okay, number 9, if you like a quiet life and you're not into noise or you find it very hard to tolerate loud bursts of noise over a period of a few days or so, you're going to find it very difficult here. So along with the festivals and festivities and things that are noisy in Cambodia, you've also got things like weddings and funerals, you've got angle grinders, you've got people doing all sorts of noisy activities. Your neighbour might suddenly get a karaoke machine, and your environment can change from being very, very peaceful to very loud in the blink of an eye. And you have to be, comes back to my point that I was making earlier about being flexible. You need to be flexible about that and understand that you're living here and it does get noisy. And if it does get noisy, it might be a good chance to have a staycation somewhere in town or go on a trip and see a different part of Cambodia. So that's my advice to you. Don't let it get you too upset. Just find a way to deal with it and move on. All right, number 10. We have to talk about this one. You don't use Facebook. Now look, I totally get it. And if I wasn't living in Cambodia myself, I would have made the same decision to opt out of Facebook. But we are where we are, and Facebook is king here. Business is done via Facebook. Events that you'll want to attend wherever you live are advertised on Facebook. Restaurants that are newly opened advertise on Facebook. Specials that they're having, promotions, things like that. You'll meet people on Facebook. If you want to ask where to buy something, you can ask that in a group on Facebook. It's really, really difficult to find information in Cambodia. And if you take Facebook out of the equation, I'd say it'd be nigh on impossible. I don't like it any more than you, and I don't like relying on it, but if you're going to live here, it's a fact of life. Okay, so there you have it. Those are the 10 reasons that you perhaps should not move to Siem Reap or retire in Siem Reap. If you've listened to all 10 of those things and you're okay with all of them, then green light, go ahead, pack your bags and get the hell over here. And we'll see you when you get here.